Hey, good morning, everybody. It's a Wednesday. Let's see what we got this morning. We got some funny news about Nikki Haley. That's woo, woo. Let's do this. All right, good morning. Okay, so let's just dig straight into the news. Well, okay, almost straight into the news. First, I gotta say, hey, Mr. C, congratulations, first blood. Appreciate you, brother. And I also have to admit that it deeply amuses me to see that the Sergeant Major is watching on Twitter. I'm sorry, I dead named him X. Oh, I see Danny's with us this morning too. Striker, here to lurk. Thanks for and Tim's with us too. Excellent. And I gotta say, here to lurk, brother. I have noticed that you like and share like an outsized portion on X for us, and I appreciate the shit out of that. Keep it up. It's mightily helpful. And for any of you guys that are watching on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook, anywhere, because we're everywhere. Any of you that are watching in any of those places, if you haven't already hit the like, share, and subscribe, please do. And in particular, I want to focus on Rumble and X. So sharing from Rumble to X or Facebook or wherever, or sharing on X is extremely helpful. Comments, likes, shares, all that stuff. And we appreciate it mightily over here. So, hell yeah. And in fact, here to lurk, if you'll send me a DM on X, send me a DM, give me some contact information, and I'll send you one of our t-shirts. In fact, you get that done. If you get that done today, then I'll try to remember tomorrow morning. I'll bring out a couple of the t-shirts and hold them up so you can see which ones we've got, and you can pick one of those, and I'll send you a t-shirt. That'd be great. So let's start with the court rule, because the general theme here this morning is basically lawfare is the death of the rule of law. Okay? So let me hit you with the headline, and I brought it from CNN because I expect a certain kind of bias. I expect a lot of that bias, and many times the way they say what they don't say says a lot. We'll dig into that a little bit in just a minute. I want to read a little bit of this and then go back and explain a little more in depth what I mean when I say that lawfare is the death of the rule of law. So Trump does not have presidential immunity in January 6th case, federal appeals court rules. Donald Trump is not immune from prosecution for alleged crimes he committed during his presidency to reverse the 2020 election results, a federal appeals court said Tuesday. The ruling is a major blow to Trump's key defense thus far in the federal election subversion case brought against him by special counsel Jack Smith. The former president had argued that the conduct Smith charged him over was part of his official duties as president and therefore shield him from criminal liability. That is not an argument. That is a fact in law. So what do I mean by that? It is the responsibility of the president to hold that seat, right? He may fail to do so, but it is his responsibility to take every action within his power and authority to retain that seat. Now, let me remind you that every Republican who has won an election in living memory, which is to say, there are no, in a world where the current president, Joe Biden, has been in public office for half a century, there are no elected officials who have held an office during a period when a Republican has won the presidency and the Democrat Party has not, A, filed a lawsuit contesting the outcome of the election, and B, drafted articles of impeachment against that president while he was in office. Both of those things have happened in the case of every Republican within the living memory of the entire elected body politic. That's a big deal. The only thing Democrats do more than election interference is money laundering. That's a statement of fact. Clear, obvious, verifiable fact. Right? Ukraine, Planned Parenthood, BLM, etc. It's all money laundering. Sergeant Major says no justice as long as professional politicians are involved. We need term limits. Absolutely. St. Michael asks, have you seen the judge in this case? Are you talking about Engeron, or are you talking about the three judges on the panel that just made the decision on immunity? Get back to me on that, and then I'll have a better answer to your question. Because Engeron looks like one of the Skeksis from Dark Crystal, right? He looks like one of the old buzzard people that sucks the life out of the little plebs. They ate up all the gelflings, and now they've just got the pod people. So let's go back to the article for a minute. So for the purpose, this is a quote from the court, and this is a big deal. For the purpose of this criminal case, former President Trump has become Citizen Trump with all the defenses of any other criminal defendant, but any executive immunity that may have protected him while he served as president no longer protects him against this prosecution. Okay. Tim Pool's talked about this quite a bit, and I fully agree with Tim Pool on this point. Let's clarify something. If this is the precedent that you want to set, if these are the precedents that you want to set, you must arrest Barack Obama immediately. You must arrest Hillary Clinton immediately. You must arrest Joe Biden immediately. You must arrest Bill Clinton immediately. You must arrest George W. Bush. Is W still with us? I'm actually not sure of that all of a sudden, but you must arrest essentially every president that's still alive. Most notably, Barack Obama. Obama assassinated American citizens. Note the plural there. On more than one occasion, Barack Obama assassinated American citizens. And he did it in countries with whom we were not even at war. Now, I'll give a little slack on the oh no, I don't have that article pulled up anymore. Okay, I had articles pulled up about al-Awlaki, but I can give him a little slack on the Anwar al-Awlaki assassination, right? I'll give the benefit of the doubt for a moment and say, okay, let's just go ahead and assume that credible intelligence existed, that he was the head of an important and dangerous terror plot. I'm sorry. So why 2 weeks later did you feel the need to assassinate that guy's son? Like, I totally understand the strategic and tactical value of sending a U.S. drone strike to murder an American citizen in Yemen when you want to send the message to pretend that you're not donating pallets of cash to the enemies of the United States of America while you're the president of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama. I understand that strategically and tactically. That doesn't make it not a fucking crime. And here's why this is pertinent. Trump's lawyer makes the argument that Trump enjoys a certain amount of executive immunity for actions he took as president in his official capacity, which would include the conduct of an election and the leadership of the Republican Party. Okay, cool. And one of the pushbacks is one of the judges said, are you trying to tell us that the president is allowed to just assassinate political rivals? That the president is allowed, while he's the president, that he's allowed to assassinate American citizens? Because if that's your argument, then this is ridiculous. And the lawyer had the correct rebuttal. He said, no. It is not the case that he is allowed to assassinate people. It is that he is allowed to assassinate people within a very narrow stricture in the context of the conduct of military action, and in the event that Donald Trump had ordered the assassination of an American citizen under any circumstances, then the expectation is that he would be immediately, swiftly investigated and impeachment would be brought. And then the Congress and the House, the Senate and the House of Representatives, would examine the details and make a determination on whether or not it was a legitimate function. But it is incontrovertibly the case that the impeachment process exists distinctly and separately from the civilian criminal court, because the conduct of commanding the largest and most powerful military force on the planet is distinctly different than the conduct of civilians in the course of their normal day, in the course of a normal life. I am a good example. I have not, will not, and probably should not ever be prosecuted for killing anyone. And that is a very different statement than I have never killed another man. But I was at war. I went and closed with and engaged the enemies of the United States of America in close combat, and I made them die for what they were. It was my job, it was my privilege, and if I'm being fair, it was a little bit exciting. I may be underselling that a bit. Okay, Alex, I'm sure you've put your thumbs on a butterfly once or twice, and let's be fair. When you start sending these downrange, my man, you will be as hard as Chinese algebra. But that's a little off topic. Just so you know. And Alex points out, unless you committed a war crime, then you don't have immunity. Yeah. There was a change to the Geneva Convention while I was deployed, and I can't say more about it than that on air. But yes. So, the fact is that if Donald Trump does not enjoy immunity for the official acts taken as president of the United States while he was president, and that is because he is no longer president, then, yeah, Obama must be tried for murder. And I'm not saying that what he did was a war crime. I'm saying that what he did was explicitly the intentional murder of an individual American citizen in Yemen. Right? And you can get past the Alaki assassination and make arguments about strategic value, military purpose, operational tempo. Okay, got it. But does that cover murdering his fucking son? Sorry, I'm not with you there. Not with you there. Not unless there's also a similar legitimate military interest. That's... speaking of impeachments, the Mayorkas impeachment failed. Now, as I understand it, it looks like they're going to try again next week. And there's some noise going around about 4 Republicans who basically are traitors and sided with the Democrats. Apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that Blake switched sides on purpose as a strategic maneuver to support the Republicans in the impeachment, because if he hadn't, it would have ended in a tie and that would have changed their ability to revisit the impeachment apparently next week. So here's hoping for that. I see some stuff going on in the comments, precedent versus president in spelling. And in this case, amusingly, what we have is a president versus the precedent. So let's look at a little more. I want to look at some of the quotes from the finding. For the purpose of this criminal case, former Trump has become citizen Trump. Okay, that's cute. President Trump respectfully disagrees with the D.C. Circuit's decision and will appeal it in order to safeguard the presidency and the Constitution, says Trump spokesman Stephen Chung. And I want to get down here. Okay, it says, if proven, the court wrote, Trump's efforts to usurp the 2020 presidential election would be an unprecedented assault on the structure of our government. Okay, quick clarification. I want you guys to think back to the confirmation of Justice Kavanaugh, confirmation of Justice Barrett, and to a much lesser extent, the confirmation of Justice Gorsuch. Think back to the attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh by a California leftist lunatic, et cetera, right? This idea that protesters entering the government building on January 6th is just this wild thing that's never happened before is a complete fabrication. It's utterly false. The thing that happened on January 6th was over in about 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours, I think it was, right? There was some property damage. and nobody was murdered except for Ashley Babbitt, who was murdered by one of the police officers at the Capitol that day. Right? Whereas on the other side, we had repeatedly, in fact, it's happened more than once since January 6th. Just a couple weeks ago, there were a bunch of leftist protesters raiding government buildings, led by one of the senators. I think it was one of the squad members. I forget which one, but they were there to protest on behalf of Hamas and demand more money for killing Jews, because apparently that's the new popular thing with the Democrats now, is exterminating the Juden, which should surprise no one that understands what socialism is. They make a habit of it. Right? You can't forget the May 29th insurrection. They set fire to the president's church. They threw fire bombs and Molotov cocktails at the White House. Right? Nobody was using weapons. Somebody was throwing fire bombs. Nobody was employing improvised incendiary devices at January 6th. That's the left. So this unprecedented assault on the structure of our government, and then, of course, the other piece of the argument has to do with the legal measures that Trump pursued in order to secure the election, lawsuits, etc. Not least of which, let's not forget, there's the whole conversation about the alternate electors, and, nobody's ever been that crazy. Well, Kennedy barely edged Richard Nixon in the 1960 popular vote, winning by fewer than 117,000 votes. This was the first time that Hawaii was in, and they did present two sets of electors, and Nixon had to choose one. That's a thing that happened. And of course, let's not forget that if the citizen can be tried and presumably eventually convicted and sentenced for crimes related to election interference, you've got Hillary Clinton, who needs to be tried for a conspiracy to defraud the American people in a RICO case that wraps up Hillary, Obama, the entire DNC, the entire Hillary Rodham Clinton campaign, the Clinton Foundation, Perkins Coie, and most of the DOJ. Probably to include the entire FBI, right? But no. So the fact is that there is no more rule of law. There is only lawfare. The law is no longer the set of rules by which we agree cordially to conduct ourselves with one another in a polite society. It is rather and only a weapon used for political prosecution. We see these show trials, right? All of the indictments against Donald Trump, these are show trials. These are media mechanics designed to impeach the character of a man who has done nothing wrong, especially within the context of the individual indictments. Let's not forget the New York corruption case, where the judge made a default verdict, declared Trump guilty without any evidence, and then had a trial for damages in which the alleged victims, the banks and investors who had done business with Donald Trump and are alleged to have been defrauded, according to the default judgment of a judge who refused to see any evidence on the case, those people all individually and explicitly protested the finding and argued that, no, we did business with the man. It was good business. We all made money, and we're all super fucking happy about all the money we made. And the judge said, no, you don't understand. I've decided that you are victims. And so we're going to hurt this guy for you. That's a show trial. You cannot have a crime without harm. And in the New York case, the alleged victims are all decrying that they not only suffered no harm, but they in fact enjoyed profit as a result of the activity and interaction with Donald Trump. There's no legal claim there, but it's happening anyway. Let me see. Article 3 courts still exist, just move trials into that jurisdiction. Last year for 20, Axon Enterprises LLC versus FTC support Supreme Court decision. Gotcha. Here to Lurk says voting is now obsolete. Changed my mind. Our county got government paid her off. I'm sorry. I'm reading over the comments. I don't want to lose you guys. Yeah. So, and Alex says in other news, Republicans couldn't bring themselves to impeach Mayorkas. That just blows my mind. Yeah, if you're in one of the three places where your Republican voted not to impeach Mayorkas, I don't know what to tell you guys. Your guy's lost the plot. He's got to go. If he's not already getting primaried, and I think one of them's retiring, so he doesn't give a shit anyway. But get out, get him gone, vote him out, replace him with a legitimate candidate. It's psychotic that Mayorkas is still in power. It's insane. So, okay. I've dug into it. I think I've made the point. Lawfare kills rule of law. Let me throw you a little funny. Let me close today's show on something that I find deeply entertaining. Nevada had the primaries yesterday. Nevada is one of the very few states, it may be the only state, that has primary and caucus. And if I'm being fair, I don't entirely understand how exactly that works. I'm still a little muddy on the details there, but Trump did not appear on the ticket for the primary. Right, so I've explained to you in the past, primaries are basically controlled by the state. It's basically a general election format, but only for one party to choose their nominee for the general election ticket, right? Whereas a caucus is run by the party and not controlled in any way by the government, except for whatever rules and laws restrict the presence of a name on a ballot, etc. Right, like for example, you've got to be at least 35 years old to run for president, so you've got to be at least 35 years old as of the date of your potential inauguration to appear in the to appear on the primary ballot or the caucus. So Trump apparently wasn't on the primary ballot in Nevada, but he's going to be in the caucus tomorrow. And this, Nikki Haley got 33% of the vote on the primary. Mike Pence, Tim Scott, John Castro, like these three guys just, it's like they didn't even show up. So Nikki Haley is the clear winner against these three candidates. Except she got absolutely donut fucked. So the courts have decided that they don't like Trump. And the people are screaming loudly. 60% of Nevada Republicans voted in the party. None of these candidates. No. Super Tuesday is only about a month away. Right? It's March 5th or 4th. It's either 4th or 5th. I think it's 5th. Off the top of my head. Super Tuesday is not that far away. But here's the thing. Why? Why even bother? Like, I mean, Nikki, if you are, if you don't drop out after this, that's essentially a tacit confession that you're not interested in actually being the president. You're interested in basically dragging down Donald Trump's campaign and trying to force him to waste money. Right? What Nikki Haley is really doing is she is lining her pockets by forcing Trump to spend money on staying in a primary. Shut it down, dumbass. Nobody wants you. I'm sorry. That's not fair. That's not fair. Nobody wants Biden. There are a lot of Democrats out there, and Putin, and Putin wants to keep the war going and keep money flowing in. Zelensky really wants to keep that war money flowing in. And Nikki Haley is all about some war money. Nikki Haley has got a great big old heart on for just being the rest of Biden's 2 terms. Nikki Haley wants to be the second Biden term. Basically, fuck the border. We don't have enough money to do anything for Americans because we need to launder it all into Ukraine and then back out through Planned Parenthood and into the DNC coffers so we can line our pockets and buy our beachfront property where we've artificially degraded the costs by telling everybody that it's going to flood. Yep. Oh man, I didn't even get to that. That might be the show tomorrow or part of the show tomorrow. Waller's reminding us that Ronna McDaniel is leaving the Republican Party, and he says, "Too bad she wasn't fired." I got to agree. I don't understand how Ronna McDaniel has hung around for as long as she has. Right? The 2020 election should have been the end of her political career in any form or capacity whatsoever. Should have been the end of it. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I'm deeply amused that Nikki Haley lost to Nope. That's kind of like when Dan Fielding lost to a dead guy, right? That's funny shit. If you don't get the reference, Night Court is on Freevee, so go educate yourselves. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.